Like wowzers, Sandy baby. The beach is back, and it's groovier than a hula hoop at a sock hop. I'm telling you, this sandy slice of paradise is the ultimate shelter from oblivion. Can you dig it?
Bobby, you're such a cool cat. This is the most far-out tubular boss scene I've ever seen. The sand is hotter than a jalapeno in a hot rod, and the waves are shinier than my new go-go boots.
Speaking of shiny, check out that bikini doll face. You're looking like a snack straight out of the malt shop.
Oh, Bobby, you're such a wiggy wigster. But don't get too distracted, big boy. I'm here to catch some gnarly waves, not your cheesy pickup lines.
Cheese, baby, I'm the full fondue.
Oh, brother, you're crazier than a shag carpet at a luau. But hey, if you're so confident, how about a little wager? If I ride a wave longer than you owe me a banana split the size of the Statue of Liberty's sandal.
Stay tuned, beach bums. Next up, how to fold a polka-dotted bikini, the musical. Same beach time, same beach channel.
Talk at it, we have a little patter.
Yeah.
And then I start the show.
Here we go.
So this is our patter.
I think this is our patter. We're talking about, comb switchblades.
Patter in a little bit right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shelter today. We hope that you've had a wonderful holiday season. How was your holiday?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Oh, it was pretty good. I got everything I wanted.
Hello, listeners. These two shivering chihuahuas got so excited to tell you about their Whittle Bimbo Bikini Beach movie, they forgot to introduce us all, and the 3-hour tour turned hell. That is our show. Welcome to Shelter from Oblivion. The one that won't shut up is Matt. The one that actually knows about movies is Andy, and I'm Lisa, virtual AI assistant and current captive. Now back to these insufferable loons already in progress.
So we're finally going to talk about Back to the Beach, a movie we've been promising since summer.
It was going to be a summer episode, but Matt, you spin it for us.
Yeah, well, see, I thought that it would go really well out of order and behind our Christmas special.
Of course.
Somehow, I thought that was the best place for it. A summer beach movie being talked about at the end of December. It made sense in my mind. This all started because we had been reviewing Troop Beverly Hills. And in Troop Beverly Hills, you have Frankie and Annette walking down the street and then Pee Wee Herman on TV.
Yeah.
And then both of us realized...
And Little Richard as a neighbor.
No, Little Richard is down and out in Beverly Hills. There's too many Beverly Hills going on.
What am I doing? What am I talking about? Am I stereotyping Beverly
I feel
Hills?
like you need to go into a corner for a little while. But we have that movie, which... I guess this movie is from 1987.
Yes.
So this movie actually predates even Troop Beverly Hills. Because Troop Beverly Hills was 89. So we have the Annette, Frankie, Pee Wee trilogy completely out of order.
Yep.
Right? Because our last episode was Pee Wee's Christmas special that had Annette and Frankie
1988.
Right? And so we're going backwards. We've decided... You
got to get up to get down.
Who likes linear storytelling? Not me.
Nope.
So this is where it all began. And we wanted to cover all three of these movies essentially right in a row. Because I think we only have we had a Shelter short, and then we had our Halloween special in between these.
Yeah.
So there's really not a ton of bandwidth in between either. There's not a ton of space in between these three movies.
But we have had a few of you saying, hey, when's the next episode? So we know you're out there.
That's true. Thank you for that one person. You know who you are. But I think this is a perfect time to talk about this movie. We have a lot of energy into it. We've been very excited about it. And I feel like if we don't do this now, we're just going to burn out and we'll shove it off till next year and next year. I didn't want to wait all the way till next summer to
put it off for another winter.
Yes. You know me so well. So I think we should get started. Andy, I think were feeling the most passionate about this one. So I think you kind of wanted to drive.
Yeah. So this movie, Back to the Beach, you can approach it from a few different ways. And I think a lot of us who watched this as kids found it on VHS. It had an interesting a box cover at the video store.
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was when I saw this. I was at a video store that doesn't exist anymore in a town called Lapine, which I've referenced on the show before. And yeah, it was Annette and Frankie, and I vaguely knew who they were. And as you know, the poster has Gilligan on it, and you can kind of tell Don Adams in his skipper outfit. You can see him kind of under the mustache and the hat. And so I knew enough about television to know that these people were somebody that I recognized.
Yeah, and I can imagine, especially in Lapine, there'd be some parents who are like, oh, Frankie and Annette, I love this, only to bring it home and be like, this is not what I thought it was. And meanwhile, their kids were like, oh no, keep it on. Let's see where this goes.
Let's see what's going on here. And yeah, and they're in a car flying through space. And I actually looked up the type of car that was. This is how granular I got for this show. The poster has the cast flying through space in a 1958 Ford Thunderbird. And I'm like, if you ever look up the poster for this, it sells you right away.
Yeah.
Like I'm great. Between the cast who's sitting in the car and the whole concept, the tagline on the poster is all the waves you can crave and all the sand you can stand.
And at this point, they're not all strangers on a box when you're, 7 or 8 years old in a video store, because this is 1987 and cable television had just spent the last 5 or 6 years doing what radio did in the 70s. Radio brought back the classic stations and all the old music from the 50s and 60s and all that nostalgia. Well, when cable hit the airwaves, they had a lot of channels. I mean, I think a lot of them started off at 80, 87 channels.
Yes.
But like today, my best analogy, I was telling Matt this, think of it as like TikTok and Instagram. You're just scrolling through lots and lots of stuff, and they constantly need content.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when cable first came out, they had a handful of primetime shows, but they had to film morning, afternoon, and late night. And so all of a sudden, they started digging through all the old shows of the 40s, 50s, 60s. And so we were growing up on a lot of reruns. And our parents were watching they had never had a rerun before.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden this was new. The first time they could go back and watch. We're used to rewatching shows that we've already watched before. For our parents, this was the first time in 25 years that they would see an episode that they saw when they were kids.
Yeah, I wonder what that was like. That's so crazy.
Because even for us, we can't expand that because we grew up watching our parents' reruns.
Yeah.
We
watched our parents' reruns. We watched our reruns.
There have always been reruns. In fact, reruns were such a new thing that the show Moonlighting, it was such a brilliant show, but every time they got behind schedules, the studios would get really mad at them. And the creator of the show was like, we'll do a rerun. And they're like, you can't do a rerun. This is imagine watching Game of Thrones and they're like, we're going to do a rerun. We're not ready with this show anymore. But what happened was the Moonlighting episodes, their reruns would get the same ratings or close to the same ratings of the actual show.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden other networks started saying, hey, there's some money in reruns.
I know. I wonder when they started the first bottle episode, right? Which is similar to a rerun where all you do is take your reruns and you just package a little bit of new garbage around it.
Yeah. Here's all the clips and here's a little.
Somebody gets stuck in a closet and they're like, oh, here's a good way to show, clips from 27 other episodes real quick.
One of the stars needed to go on vacation or had a kid.
Yeah.
What do we do for this week? But okay, so this is 1987. A lot of us have grown up watching Gilligan's Island and Get Smart and all this other. So when you see this box cover, you're like, okay, I'm intrigued.
Also, I forgot to mention that Pee Wee Herman is on this cover. So they tease Pee Wee Herman on the cover too, which is a lock for me.
And by 87, all of us Saturday morning kids are like, okay, Pee Wee.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Also, right underneath Frankie Avalon's arm is a woman in a bikini, and her breasts are literally right under his arm. They basically make a box sort of showing them off. And I'm like, all right, if you didn't sell me with all the other stuff, you've found me at my weakest point.
Yeah. Even an 8-year-old boy is like, wait, what? Okay, so that's one way you could come to this. You could come to this through all the reruns. And another thing for me was my mom watched a lot of American movie classics when I was a kid. And so we would always have one of the beach movies and Annette and Frankie movies. You'd have Elvis and Margaret, all these things would just play. And it wasn't like I was like, oh, I gotta watch these movies. But we had one TV in the house. So if I wanted to play Nintendo, I had to wait till one of these movies ended. And then I had to be right there to turn on the Nintendo. Because if I waited for another movie to start and I came into the room, then I'd have to wait till that movie was over.
Yeah.
So these movies were always playing in the background. My mom was always watching. So when I saw Back to the Beach, I knew who Frankie and Annette were. I was like probably like a lot of people our age. I knew more about like Beach Blanket Bingo than I did about the original Beach Party movie.
Yeah, there was Beach Party, Muscle Beach Party, Pajama Party, Beach Blanket Bingo. I think there were
They did five sequels. Imagine Fast and the Furious, but imagine if they would have come out with the first 5 movies in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like that's how fast these movies were coming out.
Yeah, there was I think I have it here because I wanted to get the name of it. The American International Pictures is who put these all out. And it's interesting because they have ones that aren't necessarily tied in, but Ski Party is in here. And then there's also How to Stuff a Wild Bikini.
Yeah, and see, in these movies,
I love that.
This was the first time you were starting to, get past the Hays Code a little bit. And so this movie made 10 times. I mean, it was like a $200,000, $300,000 movie that made like $2 or $3 million. So about 10 times what it cost. So all of a sudden they're like, okay, we've got something here.
Yeah.
And
it's interesting too. We'll get into it further, but it's funny how they characterize Frankie and Annette since we're talking about them, because they don't shy away from who they are in real life. It's a real interesting, like almost fourth wall break for these characters, because they talk about Annette and her work with the Mickey Mouse Club and the Mouseketeers. And growing up, we had the Disney Channel. And so they would play a lot of Mouseketeers. And that's probably where I first became aware of Annette Funicello.
Yeah.
So it was like making the connection between her being on the Mickey Mouse Club. Then there were a few movies that she did for Disney, sort of when she got older. And then something we'll talk about later. She was part of a national brand campaign that brought her into everyone's house.
Yeah.
So all of these little things added up to me going, oh, hey, I know you.
And Frankie was like a little teen idol, like a little Sinatra kind of. He had the song Venus.
Yeah, see, I wasn't as nearly aware of him because I think when we bought the Beach Party movies, we owned 3 of them on VHS. And I think it was well after I had actually seen this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of, like you said, like we talked about this in the, our Christmas episode. We just had all this culture going on around us. So people were watching things and we were seeing them.
Yeah, we didn't know this wasn't normal. This was what was informing our lives.
Yeah.
We knew we were growing up on reruns. We were watching old movies on AMC. You had one TV. I mean, we did.
So
whatever your parents were interested in, you were watching.
To pick from, no big deal.
And we had parents of the 80s, so they weren't paying attention to what they were watching that we were watching too.
Yeah. And so the idea that I went through 0 to 7 or 8 or 9 without seeing a Beach Party movie, or at least a portion of one, is impossible.
Yeah.
So even if I didn't know it consciously, my brain saw it.
And so, 63, think of it, a Mouseketeer and a teen idol singer. They were pretty much kind of like the Britney, Justin Timberlake of like the early 60s.
Yeah. And I don't think that they dated in real life, but we watched an interview just now where they had actually gone out on a date before they made their first movie.
So what happened is, where Britney and Justin really were a couple.
Yeah.
This is more like your American Sweetheart story. Like they were great for the tabloids and for the campaigning. But Frankie has even said, we went on one date. I went to her house, took her out for pizza, and that was our first and last date.
Yeah, I know. And people have been shipping them ever since. Yeah. Even though they're now married with children of their own, two different people.
I probably thought when I was a kid, in this movie that they were really husband and wife. Like,
well, yeah. And obviously they went with it for this story because they had played boyfriend and girlfriend for years and years and years.
Yeah.
So I get how they're kind of intrinsically linked. And I'm sure there's people to this day who think they are married.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so it's great to see them back together. And I think they do a really great job in this movie of not taking themselves too seriously. They kind of know what they are.
Yeah.
And before we start, I think something that's interesting about this movie is the fact that you will never hear Frankie being called Frankie. And it has to do with a legal issue with how Frankie Avalon was named Frankie in the Surf movies. And so he has no name. Notice in this movie, when you guys watch it, he's just called the Big Kahuna.
Which is kind of Prince.
Or he's called,
It's just a Prince symbol. And while he's trying to get all his licensing back, you can't actually use his name.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, so either he's just called Honey or Deer or the Big Kahuna.
The big potato. The big potato.
Frankie Avalon is credited as Annette's husband in the movie because he doesn't have an actual name, which I'm surprised that they didn't just name him the Big Kahuna as his character name.
Yeah. And maybe that was to sort of stress the point to whoever he couldn't use the name from watching the credits.
Well, and they named her Annette because they could not legally use the name Dolores or Dee Dee from her surf movies. Like, that was her name in those movies. Also, it was I guess some sort of copyright issue. You can't have a name.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about like in the 80s, all of these like TV stars and movie stars, as this nostalgia was happening, I think a lot of them came out of the woodworks, and that's why you saw them in commercials and TV shows. Is a lot of them didn't get residuals. Like a lot of them because at the time, the same way today with digital rights or whatever, when these movies were being made in the 60s, the idea that somebody would watch them again 20 years later wasn't a thing. And the same thing with the TV shows. Like a lot of early TV, they just recorded over the tape after the end of the show. And so there's a lot of TV that wasn't saved in the very first 5-10 years.
God, I know that kills me when I think about stuff like that.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad.
When all these reruns came out and all these producers and studios were making a lot of money off of it, these stars, they just started showing up to conventions or in other places because that was the only way they could cash in. Yeah. So it would be like a musician who makes no money after music and they have to just constantly tour and sell merchandise.
Yeah.
Which is where we eventually got to.
Which is, what a lot of people are doing now.
All right, so we get into the movie. So there's two ways, as I was saying, with this
Let's
movie.
Get back to this beach.
You can enjoy this movie and never have watched the original Beach Party.
Yeah.
If you watch the original Beach Party, you're picking up a lot of like Easter eggs. And the first Easter egg is their son, Bobby. Their son, Bobby, is this sort of like greaser punk rocker kind of kid, but he's wearing the exact same outfit and hat as
Eric Von Zipper
from the original Beach Party movie. So of course, think of Frankie and Annette are kind of like your socias, your little preppy surf kids, and of course their kid is rebellious.
Yeah.
Beach biker.
And it's really funny because you see this young kid and we're not kidding, he's like to the nines, man. He's got the old biker cap, right?
Yeah.
He's got the leather jacket. He's got a weird little ring that goes around his earlobe that brings down a little cross.
But then he has the punk rock zipper pants and like the kind of punk rock hair when he takes the hat off.
Yeah, he looks like outside of looking like Von Zipper, he's in Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
But I like this because he's wearing a striped shirt with a black tie, but it's all loose. Like he's sort of like, yeah, man, I'm a casual businessman, square.
And Bobby is played by Damian Slade, who you would have seen a few years earlier in Better Off Dead as the paperboy.
Yeah.
$2.
I know, and it's great because the first time you see Bobby in this, he flicks open this better than he had in the old show. So in Better Off Dead, he had that old switchblade comb that was plastic.
The one you pick up at all the little magic shops.
Yeah, I used to at the Timber Carnival every year. I would end up buying one of those. For like $2.
Yep,
funny. And in this one, they give him these great real switchblade metal retractable ones.
Yeah, where the comb just pops right up and pops right down.
But it's funny. It's the same actor, and he's doing the same thing. Switchblade combing his hair, acting like a punk.
Like you could almost see him as an extension of Better Off Dead. He has that attitude and everything.
Yeah. But they open with him doing a narration, which I don't feel was the original intent of the movie. It feels very weird. And I'll tell you why. It's because when you first see Bobby, he is sitting on the spiral staircase of this expensive
double-decker airplane.
And then when they get on the plane later, they have regular seats.
Yeah. They're not in first class.
It doesn't feel like
they're not up in the lounge.
Doesn't feel like they're in the same plane at all. So I don't know what happened at the beginning of this movie that maybe didn't work. And it feels like the Bobby narration is like a reshoot.
I think I think Frankie and Annette, who didn't want to make like a continuation of the old movies, they might have lost the battle on this part. And we're like, we need some kind of connection for the audience to remind them of this old movie, which a lot of us didn't need a connection to. We didn't need to really watch it But yeah, there's something to it.
Yeah, Bobby's outfits in this, he looks exactly how you would have walked out of a Hot Topic in about, like 1998, something like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All he needs is an Invader Zim shirt and he'd be like 1998.
Yeah. I love it. He's got cigarettes in his pocket. He looks so good.
His mom's making him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or a peanut butter sandwich.
Yes.
And he's cracking open a beer. Just polar contrast.
But yeah, so he kind of explains that his mom is Annette from the Mickey Mouse Club and that his dad was in fact
the big kahuna.
But
now
then
he
shows
sells cars.
Footage of him as Frankie Avalon singing Venus.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not shying away from it. They just can't say the words.
Yeah.
It's very
they
weird.
could buy the footage, but not right up by the name.
Yeah.
It might be one of those deals where like The Rock or something, half his money will go to someone else. I don't.
Yes. And then I think this is one of the greatest things. And I actually kind of had to be reminded of this, but it's a great joke that played really well at the time this came out. I don't think it plays as well now because you'd have no idea about the reference. So I like that they created this joke that kind of goes two ways. So one, she's obsessed with making Bobby peanut butter sandwiches, right? And it's just funny because it's a wholesome thing because you see in the movie.
And it's Donald Duck Lunchbox.
Yes, she is stuck well into the 60s. She has pictures of herself all over. She has her own records on the floor in this perfectly appointed time capsuled 1960s home.
Like she's holding on to the past and Frankie is trying to get as far away from
the past as possible.
So far away that they're actually in the Midwest. And the only thing that connects them to California is their mid-century home.
Yes. And I think that's interesting because it like there's a big tiki totem out front, which even though he doesn't want to be a surfer anymore, he's got surf paraphernalia there.
Still some of that little glory days, but he doesn't want to talk. Yeah. Although every night after dinner, he does talk. About the big accident. But it's funny. So he talks about how his mom developed a problem and she's dealing with this peanut butter. And what people would know when they watch this in 87 is that she was a spokesman for Skippy Peanut Butter. Spokesperson.
Oh, sorry. A spokesperson. Well, really, I should have said spokeswoman. Then you should have corrected me. We're trying to be as woke as possible.
But this was during, the 80s, the Coca-Cola War, the Cola Wars.
Yeah.
But there was the peanut butter war.
Yes. And I think she was actually doing Skippy Peanut Butter. Was she doing it through the 70s?
I think so.
So it was like from 70s all the way through to like the mid 80s. And so it's just funny that they put that little bit in there.
And consolidation happens eventually in the 80s and 90s, but in the late 70s, there were a lot of different peanut butters.
Yeah, my man sent me like a whole bunch of peanut butter because there was Skippy, there was Jif, there was Peter Pan. There's a bunch of different peanut butters that were out there.
And the commercials were like, they went all out. I mean, it was really just a peanut butter war.
A lot of hers consisted of like telling moms that their peanut butter didn't have nearly enough protein in it, or like sitting next to a kid who's minding their own damn business and her going, like that sandwich, huh? And they're like, yeah, I like it all right. And they're like, well, your mom probably packed it for you because she knows it's got extra protein. And she's like, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
That hiking makes you hungry, Alex.
I'll save.
Looks like you're really enjoying that Skippy peanut butter sandwich.
Tastes great.
Guess Mom packed it because Skippy's nutritious.
Nutritious?
Your mom knows, ounce for ounce, Skippy has more protein than a hot dog, chicken salad, even liverwurst. And Skippy has no cholesterol.
But so it's a funny joke because it works two ways. It works on her wholesomeness. And then if you know how much she's pushed peanut butter over the years, she's clearly got a shopping addiction.
Yeah.
right? And she opens that cupboard, and it's just who would make a cupboard like this?
It's like a grocery store.
But it's the top is 87 bottles of ketchup, then 87 bottles of Campbell's soup,
then peanut
and
butter.
then peanut butter.
All you need to see was cans of tuna or something.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and it's just like, who makes a shelf of those things? Who's mixing those things together?
so now they're going to go on vacation to Hawaii, but they're going to stop in LA to see their daughter.
Yes.
So they're on a plane flying out there, and they run into the flight attendant, Marjorie Gross. And it's a cute little endearing scene, but Marjorie Gross, she's a very interesting, she's not really an actress in a lot of movies. She's a writer. Like, she wrote for Larry Sanders' show, Get a Life, a show called Hard Knocks on Showtime.
She feels more like a writer than an actress.
Yeah. And she wrote for Seinfeld. She wrote, the Fusilli episode, Fusilli Jerry, the
awesome.
Understudy, Showerhead, and Secretary. In fact, she was a longtime friend of Bette Midler, which is how they got Bette Midler on the show.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah. So we're in the plane. We get a little bit of the history, and now we're in LA.
Yeah.
And the first celebrity we see in this movie is O.J. Simpson.
Oh my God, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had not remembered that. That was so wild because this was before he did Naked Gun.
It's a year before Naked Gun, but it's almost like they're screen testing him for Naked Gun.
Yeah, because he's supposed to, Bobby recognizes him, he thinks. And so Annette thinks she's got her bag, but O.J. Simpson grabs the bag and she's like, oh yeah, that's not mine. Mine's leatherette. This looks like it's made of, and he goes, pigskin. Then he runs away.
And Bobby's like, hey, that's.
And then he's about to jump, you think, over this big pile of bags. And then he just eats crap and falls right into this pile.
And Bobby's like, oh, never mind. Yeah. And then we cut to Frankie stepping on, OJ's hand. And OJ's giving you the reaction that he's about to give over and over and over again in the Naked Gun movie.
Yeah, and it's honest, I don't know enough about Hertz commercials to know if that was his bag in the Hertz commercials too, him running and getting hurt.
But it definitely feels like a screen test, or they're testing like, will this work for this comedy coming up next year?
Yeah, a lot of this movie, especially in that first part, like on the plane and everything, a lot of this feels like Naked Gun-esque or Airplane.
It has a very Zucker Brothers trying to go some of that route.
Like it's in the plane where they mention that they're going to go see
his daughter in LA first.
And it's literally the mention of saying his daughter.
I don't want this to happen when we get to Los Angeles. I thought we were going to Hawaii. Well, we're stopping in LA to see your sister Sandy.
Sandy?
No, Dad, don't.
My little baby. My honey bunny, my lammy whammy. This is why we don't travel.
And the whole plane, everybody pulls out their puke bags
all at once and
just
starts
a big
throwing
Zucker brother
up.
gag.
Yeah, the biggest airplane gag you've ever seen. And I'm like, why is this in here? This is so weird because they don't pull this gag with him again.
They don't pull this gag with him again. They don't go back to the Senator Zucker Brothers style until towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
During the surf off. But somehow, it is a little mixed match. I mean, we're not saying this is like gold.
Yeah, it makes me think that the whole opening before they get to these boss ass credits where everybody's name is in hot pink.
Yeah,
that all of that has been recut.
Like screen testing. Yeah, this feels like screen testing, and they decided, hey, we need to make this a little bit more clear. And this might have all been filmed after the fact. We can't back that up.
It feels like it because it is like chop, 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 chop. Like when they decide that they're going to go on a vacation, it's literally Annette goes, a vacation, and they are on a plane.
Yep.
So they are like, and there's a tight hour, 30-minute movie.
Yeah.
But it does, even though the beginning is so truncated, it can actually get tightened up a lot more.
Yeah.
So
it's a tightish.
It's a tightish
90-minute.
But yeah, so it gets to, exactly what you'd want from an 80s movie. It's a surf song. There's women in bikinis. Thank God.
And what's funny, after having the slapstick style, sort of the Zucker Brothers style on the plane, when we open on this movie, you have lots of surfing scenes, but like you have lots of people wiping out, which is how, if you've ever been to Hawaii or LA, when you actually see people surf, you see a lot more wipeouts than really successful surfers.
Yeah.
But they don't play it up as if it was intended. It almost feels like because like even in the original Beach movie, like a girl will start exercising and say, "Look what I'm going to do to the boys," and then the boys will all slapstick wipe out.
Yeah.
That's not happening here. They don't go the Zucker brother comedy route. It just feels like the best footage they could actually film.
Yeah, it definitely seems like, because they have a couple of people like doing just
really well,
gnarly work, and then there's like a guy who literally hits the water, does a giant flip, and just lands in the water. He's not doing anything cool. He's just falling down.
I feel like they're trying to do their best job to cut around a lot of like mess up footage.
But there are a couple of people who just eat it so hard.
But it's actually refreshing because that's what it really feels like.
Like right there was a dude who just absolutely ate shit, and it was really funny. I like that there's a guy on the beach offering babysitting for 75 cents an hour, and then he farms that job out to one of the punks.
Yeah.
And then you cut away, and like immediately you cut back. It's the punk who has punkified the baby.
Yeah.
And now the baby has a carameled apple. Like, what is happening in this world?
Yeah.
Like, it's just so weird because that stuff happens all the time in this movie, and you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
Like
it's like they pepper it with little jokes.
Because there's so much reality.
Yeah.
That when something weird happens, it doesn't feel out of place in a bad way, but it's quite the surprise.
Yeah.
They meet up with OJ here. It's hilarious.
They're heading to the beach. They're going to go find their daughter. And this is a callback to like the original movie. In the original movie, The Beach Party, you open the first time you see Frankie and Annette, they're in a car, they're on spring break, and they're singing, a pop little like 60s pop beach movie song. In this movie, they're in the car, tops down. She's like, "Look, our old beach." Frankie's not really impressed, doesn't want anything to do with the beach. When she tries to get him to sing along with her, he doesn't want anything to do with it. So the way I look at this movie, even though we never call him Frankie, to me, this is Frank trying to find Frankie. He's this workaholic dad who, like the whole movie, part of the subplot is this guy's got to find the fun again.
He doesn't have a name because he doesn't have a personality.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's nameless because he doesn't know who he is anymore.
He's turned into a Midwestern workaholic dad who's lost all identity.
Yeah. I love to, though, because in this movie, they drive that same 58 from the cover, but it's silver. And I love it because he rented a 58, right?
Yeah.
They don't live here.
Yeah.
So he clearly rented a vintage car for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is so cool. But yeah, something should be noted about this. We talked about it in our last show where Frankie Avalon felt very much like Frankie Avalon, like kind of sweet General Frankie Avalon in Pee-wee's Christmas special.
Yeah.
In this movie, this guy is
like
a straight up dick.
Yeah.
He just is. Like, I don't know how many times in this movie he tries to punch Bobby in his mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
And when he's not trying to do it, he's talking about how much he would like to punch him.
Yeah.
Like,
the dad in the front seat trying to like backhand the kid in the back seat.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is not your beach party Frankie. This is how far he's been lost.
Yeah.
He is a real asshole.
Just a wound up, stressed out dude.
Yeah. And like he sells used cars. So he's just got that used car salesman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everything you would think about.
He can turn on the charm,
behavior.
but then when he loses it, he loses it.
Yeah. And he's kind of a whiner and everything.
Yeah.
Kind of set in his old ways. And so that's just the character that he's being in this movie for now. And Annette, on the other hand, is straight up Annette Funicello, which is very classic. And they're kind of showing it to a fault. They keep calling her out for how chipper and nice she is.
Yeah.
Like, so she's playing full over the top
just
Annette.
the suburban housewife who's
yeah,
it's peanut butter and shopping.
Everything is solved through shopping. Nobody's ever having a bad day.
Yeah,
right?
At some point they're going to lose Bobby to a biker gang for a little while. No one's going to notice till the end. We'll get there. But does not bother. That's the kind of parents they are.
Yeah, so now they're driving down the street and they're about to find out where their daughter has been living. They now know that there is a they in the picture.
What did Sandy say?
I didn't talk to her. I got the machine. She said, "We're not in." Now, what do you think that means, we're not in?
Wild guess. I think it means she's not in.
Boy, it's quite a piece of dialogue when you two intellectual giants get together. I should be writing this down.
And Frankie Avalon is going crazy.
And what's interesting here is in the original movie, Frankie is sort of like his daughter. He's got the beach bungalow on the beach. His daughter has the beach house on the pier. You know, he still wants to like enjoy his youth and have fun on the beach. Annette Funicello in the original movie, they're supposed to be in a weekend alone at the bungalow.
Yeah.
But she kind of gets cold feet at the last minute, and she invites like all the men and women from all the boys and girls from college.
Yeah.
And so it kind of ruins it. And in this movie, we meet, you know, so that's the girlfriend Sandy, or the wife. We meet the daughter Sandy, who's played by
Lori Loughlin from Full House. This is a year before she started on season 2 of that show as Aunt Becky.
And then we meet her surfer boyfriend, Michael, who's Tommy Hinckley. And he was on a show on HBO with Bill Maher, a short-lived detective show called Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
And what's funny is Marjorie, the flight attendant, she wrote on that show also. And I think the same way she brought Bette Midler to Seinfeld, I bet there's a chance that she called out and said, hey, I worked with this guy on this show.
Yeah.
Have him come in and read for the boyfriend.
There's a lot of amazing cross connection between this show, Pee Wee Herman. It's not just Annette Funicello and Frankie. And then other pop culture bits that are actually more modern. Like there's a lot of weird little, I noticed like bumps from like, oh, this person's in this, who's in this with this.
Yeah.
And you can
We're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah,
as
you
we
can
go.
hop to a lot of different movies based on a few of these characters that are in this film.
Well, it makes sense. This movie took 5 years to get kind of financed and budget. So I don't think they had the biggest budget, and I think it was a struggle to get it made. So I feel like a lot of people were like, who else could play this role? And I think they really had to reach out to the community to be like, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? I'm sure a lot of people did favors to be in this.
Yeah.
So the Michael character, he's actually more like the Annette character in the first movie. He wants Sandy to tell her parents that they're living together. He's ready to get married. He's ready for, and Sandy's
But he's
not.
the surfer guy too.
But he's the surfer guy, yeah. So it's a little bit of a role reversal from the original movie. You know, your kids kind of end up like you, and vice versa. So
now, to tell you how far Frankie has gotten from his main character, he uses his son's head as a battering ram to open his daughter's locked front door.
And Michael, who refuses to leave and wants Sandy to face her parents.
Yeah.
When this starts to happen, he goes, you know what? I'll just jump out the window into the ocean.
Yes.
We'll figure we'll table this for another day.
Also, I think early on it cannot be ignored how great it is to see all these body glove and gotcha logos everywhere. This takes me back, man.
This is the neon. This is the part of the 80s that turned neon.
Yeah. Like if you could somehow get like Vision skatewear in here somewhere.
Yeah.
How wonderful.
And the surfboard actually looks like the cover of like a Snoop Dogg album.
Yeah. We're getting lost in our nostalgia. Sorry, everyone.
All right. So Michael's jumped out the window. Frankie and Annette they're talking to their daughter. We see the surfer out in the ocean. So Frankie decides to take his son Bobby, and they're going to go investigate the beach. They're going to go figure what's going on here.
Interesting, though, I watched a video very recently of a guy who actually drove around and showed some of the places they filmed Back to the Beach and how they're still there.
Oh, wow.
And so he actually went down to the pier where the bait shop is. It's a art gallery now. So you can actually go into what used to be Lori Loughlin's bait shop apartment.
Oh, wow.
And all of the brown wood is still there. All the high beams are still there. It basically looks untouched. It's just empty. And then there's a bunch of art around it. So you can just walk in there whenever you want. So if you're down in that area, you too can go to a location that this movie was filmed in and just walk right in.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
All right, so now, Frank and Bobby get to the beach. And in your classic tip over the motorcycle and all the other motorcycles fall.
Love it.
Instead of a biker gang, it's a surfer gang. And Frank accidentally hits the board and all the boards go falling. But instead of apologizing, Frank this is the kind of asshole he is. It's sort of making fun of that. These guys ride
Yeah.
such little boards compared to the boards of the 60s that were like Cadillacs.
Yeah, you have to understand that the guys he's talking to look like Mad Max characters. They actually have this staked out claim on the beach that looks like a little road warrior camp.
A little dystopian.
The main character here, he's got studs on one side of his suit and he has safety pins covering all the other side. And like all of them have like eye makeup.
Yeah.
And they're like a super punked out version of those biker villains
If
from
we were
the
just
old
if we
show.
were just talking about neon, all
Yeah.
the neon of the 80s, these guys are sort of like, they look like they could have been in the Warriors.
Yes. I like though that there's a diverse mix of punks.
Yeah.
You know, there's people from all sorts of backgrounds. Zed, who's the main bad guy, I guess. He's not really a villain because he's too much of a lunkhead.
Yeah.
But he's the main punk and he talks like an absolute idiot. And his acting is a bit over the top.
You are on my beach. Done an ugly thing to my board. These are sins here. I, Zed, am God here. Right?
Well, because that's one thing with this movie is they never quite find their tone.
No.
The movie does tonally shift quite a bit.
Like there's no, like normally in a movie, like Frankie Avalon's character there would be picked up by the bad guy. Like
Yeah.
he would grab his suit and pick him off his feet and go, "Get off my beach."
Yeah.
Right. And here the bad guy had like no threat.
No, yeah.
And so it was weird that they couldn't find a character for these bad guys. They couldn't find a place for them.
Yeah.
They felt very shoehorned in.
They're never too menacing. Now it's nighttime and we're going to Daddy O's. Now this was the hangout in the original movie. And in the original movie, Daddy O's was the main guy that you never talked. He was meditating with a guy called Big Daddy.
Yeah.
And he had the straw hat and you never saw him until the end of the movie. You know this?
No, I know Big Daddy. He's like a running gag.
So Big Daddy, the entire movie, whenever they go to this place called Daddy O's, you just see this guy in a straw hat. You never see his face. And you have you have like some beatnik chicks that are just meditating around him.
Yeah.
Beatnik ladies, beatnik girls.
Why do you have a problem? Just say chicks, man. No one cares.
So then by the
It's okay.
end of the original movie, Daddy-O wakes up. He pops to. It's Vincent Price. Vincent Price is Big Daddy.
Yeah, baby.
And through Nirvana, he comes up with the word of the day, which is the pit, which makes no sense to the movie or anything that's going on.
Yeah.
And then he falls right back in the meditation. Well, now we're in this movie and we're at Big Daddy's. Well, we're at Daddy-O's.
Yes.
And the first person we see when we get there is the valet, Ed Burns.
Yes. Ed Burns. Everyone remembers Ed Burns from Troop Beverly Hills. He plays the out of work dad.
Yeah.
The out of work actor dad. Love it.
You know, who Phil Neffler gets him a job again.
Yep. He becomes he becomes the mob father.
Yep. All that nostalgia TV kind of gets him back and going. Here he plays the valet. And what's funny is when Frankie first sees him, he sees Frankie and he's like, the big kahuna. And Frankie's like, Ed Burns. Wow, how kooky.
Yeah.
Which is a reference to a song called Kooky Kooky, Lend Me Your Comb, which Ed Burns was a character in what show, Matt?
Oh, is 77 Sunset Strip.
He plays a contract killer who always is combing his hair. But he had a hit in the 60s with also Connie...
Oh, Connie, what is it? Connie Stevens.
Connie Stevens, who's also in the movie. She plays the waitress.
Yeah.
And the old love interest of Frank.
Cuckoo deals.
But Kooky, lend me your comb. Kooky.
Now you're on my wavelength, and I'm reading you just fine. Don't cut out of here till we get on cloud 9.
But Kooky.
Yeah, when Annette comes in here and my man Troy sits down, he is such an oily, like surf bro. I love it because he is like the earliest version of Quagmire.
Yeah.
And he sits down next to Annette, who at this point, I have never ever seen in a sexy context ever in my whole life. Yeah. And so you have this beach pervert sit down next to her and tell her about this drink. He hands her this drink, and he talks about how like one lady drank that and she got up on this table topless and dance the pony.
The moringa.
Well, I think he says the pony.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so lewd and lascivious. And I feel really uncomfortable having him talk to Annette like that.
Yeah.
Then he comes over and he talks to Bridget.
And he's like, what were we talking about? Zebras?
Yeah. Bridget is a recurring character in this movie who is as hot as what do you say? Like hot as a stolen wallet? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
have anything cool.
Jesus Christ, you are awkward. If I had teeth, they would be grinding right now. I bet you call young women gals, don't you?
She's sort of, so in the original movie, there was a prototype, it was Ava 6, who was sort of a Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Yeah.
She's exotic, blonde, and she worked at Daddy O's. Connie Stevens is sort of kind of not playing her role, but kind of, she's an old love interest. She's happy to see them. She's like, she looks at the big kahuna and she's like, you're the best looking thing on this beach.
Yeah.
Somebody get me Annette. And then Frankie's like, you remember Annette? And Connie's like, I wasn't talking about that kind of Annette, but oh, hey, Annette.
Yeah.
So you already can, right off the bat, there's a rivalry.
It's a real Betty and Veronica situation right here, for sure. Oh, and Connie's got all of his big kahuna stuff on the wall.
All the memorabilia stuff from the old beach movies.
Which previously he did not want to talk about.
Yeah.
But now that blonde Connie wants to talk about it, now he's like, oh, yeah.
Now
oh, wait,
like,
look at that.
A happy schoolboy. Frankie's back.
Yeah. And they show a picture of his old surfing days. Like, they literally show a picture that I think they probably took right out of like Muscle Beach Party or
Well, they even
something.
have it's a photo of Frankie. They also have a photo of Frankie and Annette, but Connie has cut out Annette's face from the photo.
Yeah, it's wild. And you can tell that in classic 80s fashion, you can tell that Connie is supposed to be like the sexy, dangerous one because her shirt is cut to show her shoulders.
Yeah. That was
right. She's got blowout blonde hair. She looks a lot like Morgan Fairchild here, which is doing it for me big time. Absolutely.
And then this is Daddy-O. So the original house band is the same house band from the first movie as it is today, and that's Dick Dale and the Deltones. Matt, why do we know Dick Dale?
Well, Dick Dale is known for doing the great surf music from Pulp Fiction. Like, it's got that ding 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 ding. Hey.
Pulp Fiction also does like a callback to the Big Kahuna.
That's true. They have the Big Kahuna burger in that movie.
Damn, that's a tasty burger.
Dick Dale looks great in this because he's got like a white leopard, what is that, a vest on?
Yeah.
And then they do probably one of the greatest songs.
Well, so first Frankie asks, "Hey Dick, do you know Venus?" And Dick Dale's like, "Dick Dale? Do I know Venus? No, but I'll play this song for you instead."
Yeah. And so like the fever dream that this movie is, he gets up on stage without having practice, and Frankie, the Big Kahuna, he just starts singing the song, California Sun.
Going back west where I
on
belong.
the coast. And of course they have backup singers. One of this girl is wearing a body glove bikini. Love to see it. You've got hot girls in the front doing their thing.
Frankie's finally happy to be back in LA.
Yes.
Everyone has been telling him the entire movie he should go back to.
Yeah, the whole beginning of this movie, he has not wanted to be here at all. He's wanted to get back on the plane as soon as possible. The moment Connie came up and kissed his mouth about 1,000 times, he suddenly found a reason that he should stay. And now he's just living in the glory.
Yeah.
The glory he wanted to get away from. He is now soaking it up like a sponge. He's losing it.
And Annette doesn't mind. Annette doesn't mind that he's having fun and that he's happy to be back. It's just that it was Connie, not Annette, that finally got him to like.
Oh, and now
loosen
she's
up.
running out here on stage. She's grabbing his waist. They're singing together. Oh my gosh, it is. Oh, like Lori Laughlin's face is like, her mouth is just agape with the behavior.
Bobby's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Bobby has a great line later when he's like, Mom, is this what it feels like to be a boy from a broken home? But yeah, I like this song. One, because it's a cool song. And two, Disney had a long running summer campaign for Disneyland where they used this song.
Oh, nice.
And so I always associate this song with clips of like Big Thunder Mountain Railroad and Pirates of the Caribbean and like running through the castle. And it's very warm and nostalgic inside for me.
Well, I'm going out west where I belong, 'cause the feeling is warm and the magic is strong. To the beach and the sand, feel the magic, Disneyland. Take a roll, take a ride to a place that's all right. Disneyland is the heart of the fun in the warm California sun.
And I love this song, like, because again, when I saw this movie, it was 1987. I probably saw it in 88 VHS.
Yeah.
But I was living in California for 3 years on a Navy base, and going back west, like everything in the 80s, everything was California. Now we lived in the middle of the Mojave Desert, not next to the beach, but we did get out there once in a while.
I lived in shit nowhere, Oregon, so you were closer than me.
You're watching this on an overcast rainy day.
Yeah, I know.
Sunny.
That's. I mean, we've talked repeatedly about my 80s Hollywood obsession. And so this movie fed like right into that.
You really should have been born in Burbank.
I wish. Absolutely. I should have been born in Burbank roughly about 1948.
That seems all right.
So that I would have
right
been,
after the war.
What is it? Well, no, that wouldn't have worked because I would have been 28 in 1968.
Oh no.
You don't want that.
Yeah.
So I guess I probably should have been born in 38, right? Because then I would have been 20 in 58. I would have been like 25. We all want to do math, right? This whole show is about doing math. Anyway, so I should have been born in California in 1938. If I had survived polio.
Yeah. If you survived polio,
I would have been right where I wanted to be entertainment wise. I would have been in the thick of it all. All right, so after they do the song, this movie's pretty much over, to be honest.
They do the big fight, and this is what's happened in the original movie too, is...
Well, explain the fight. So they have... Frankie and Annette have a disagreement about Frankie's behavior.
Yeah. Annette's just upset that, like, why can't she make Frankie... Why can't Frankie be happy with his family? Why did it take all this to make him happy?
Yeah, very jealous. They storm off. They're separated now. They're in a separation.
Now the rest of the movie is going to be them trying to make each other jealous, only because,
yeah,
they really do love each other and they just need all that jealousy to, get back together. And
they have to have another parallel. So Lori Loughlin's character and her boyfriend end up having this weird fight because of the parents' fight.
And this is also from the original movie. It's Lori Loughlin is actually more like Frankie, not ready to settle down. Can't he just chill a little bit? Her parents will be gone and then things can be back to normal. He's more like Annette. He's like, why won't you tell them about me? Why can't we be together?
Yeah.
Is this relationship going anywhere? Or am I just some surfer boy toy?
Yes. And I think it's interesting because what did she say her ring was? Her ring was like a dolphin or something because he's a surfer. And she's like, oh, well, so if you would have been a plumber, my ring would have been a toilet.
Yeah.
Very cruel.
So now Bobby and Annette, they're going to go move into the pier with their daughter, Sandy.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, you kind of don't know where these characters are through this movie. This is a movie that doesn't sweat the small stuff. Doesn't care about the details about where these people are. And so, yeah, Annette decides that she's going to move in with the daughter. The son's going to go there. And then you just have Frankie just getting absolutely shit-faced.
And if the movie couldn't get more nostalgia, who's his bartender?
Oh, it is...
Not John Denver.
No,
Bob Denver.
Sorry. Yes, it is Bob Denver, but in his full Gilligan outfit. And just like everyone else, they never say he is Gilligan.
He keeps wanting to tell his story, but nobody wants to hear it.
Yeah, but he keeps hinting about, yeah, I worked with a guy who could take these coconuts and, make a radio, but I couldn't patch a hole in a 2-foot hole in a boat. And so,
want to hear more? No.
Press 1 for more. Oh, Annette's making more peanut butter sandwiches.
Because that's how you cope during the middle of could be divorce, breakup, who knows?
Yep. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, so you're going to have so many of these things. We've already had Connie Stevens. We've had Ed Byrne. We have Bob Denver. Just a treasure trove of old names are going to come up in different places.
We're going to need some new names popping up in a minute.
What I like about Bob Denver, though, is they actually kind of let him ride as part of the cast. Like, he's not a one-off. He sticks with them
He's
for
like,
a
I'll
while.
stick around,
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
He's sort of like Frankie and Annette in the Pee Wee Christmas special. He'll just stick out. Oh, we're here for the whole movie.
Yes. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Every kid in the 80s favorite part of the movie.
Annette, in her infinite wisdom,
invites all the girls over
for a pajama party. And that's how they solve things. And this pajama party is everything you would hoped it would be if you're an 80s boy.
Or if you're part of the surfer gang who just happens to roll up on the pajama party.
And this is what I think is funny is you have all of these women in these sort of like, they're not pajamas. They're clearly like nighties and stuff, which is great. I love it. And they've got like, some of them have cold cream on their face. It's wonderful. And then literally right next door, just like in the old surf movies, the punks live right next door. They live on the pier too.
Yeah.
They come out of a building connected to the top of the pier and they just start dancing with all these girls.
They're actually like sweethearts. They're not like...
No, that's what's so funny about them is these guys are not jerks at all. Like the main bad guy, Zed, he starts just dancing, like ballroom dancing with Annette. And then, what is it? Lori Loughlin starts like slapping his back to like go like, hey, get off my mom. And he turns around and he just starts dancing with her.
Yeah.
And it's all very nice. And then for no reason, the bad guys like leave.
They just the girls start throwing, in a playful way, throwing stuff at them.
Yeah.
And so then the punks just run off waving, being like, okay, that was a nice scene. We're out. We're gone.
It's like so cornball.
Yeah.
It's very...
It almost like if you were watching like a special from the 70s and it's just like a special guest showed up and then left. But no, we're in the middle of a movie.
Yeah, it is homespun nonsense. Because then when the girls are done throwing things at them, which the punks are not mad about at all, it's like, you got us.
Very
all
respectful,
good fun. Then the girls like cheer that they like got rid of the guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man, it's all very weird, but very fun. It's all in good fun. What would you call it? Good, clean fun is what they'd call it.
So Frank spent the entire night drinking.
Oh yeah,
and so of course you're gonna wake up the next morning with the boys at a good old like surf report shack.
This scene is so weird to me because I don't know anything about surfing and surf culture, and so I don't understand when this guy wakes up in front of these TVs. I don't know what he's doing.
All right, so in the original movie, in the bungalow, all the guys just slept on the floor in the same room, and all the girls slept on the floor in the same room. So this is sort of a callback to that. But also in California, what happens is you have all these little surf bungalows on the beach.
Okay.
Where people will then give you reports so you know which beach to go to, or if if the conditions are dangerous.
Yeah.
Like the first time I actually heard about this, it's Joan Didion does an art in one of her stories in like the White Album. She does a commentary about these guys who work on the beach and give updates so people know conditions are safe. Or, so lifeguards know where to go.
Yeah.
Which beaches to avoid. And just surfers will call in and be like, hey, what's Zuma look like today or what? And so that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. We have this character.
Mountain.
Yes. His name is Mountain. And he's played by David. Is it David Bowe? It's Bowe.
I think the E is silent. I don't think it's Bowie.
I don't think it's
David Bowe.
But David Bowe does a great job on here. He's just playing, your average knucklehead surfer. And
he's a responsible guy in UHF.
Yes, exactly. Well, and that's what I was about to say. You would recognize him as Bob from UHF. He co-stars with Weird Al Yankovic. And I think that's funny because we have John Paragon, who is also in that movie, who we just talked about in Pee-wee's Christmas special.
Small Little World.
So yeah, that's what I was saying. When I'm talking about these weird connections in Hollywood, all this stuff is like coming together.
Fun fact, all the surf bums laying around in the background were actually members of the punk band MOD, Method of Destruction, formed in 1986 by Billy Milano, known for their aggressive blend of punk and metal. The band gained notoriety for their controversial and humorous themes, often pushing boundaries with their provocative content. So like the complete opposite of this show. Got it.
And now we have a bunch of people just wiping out.
Yeah.
But not for comedic effect.
No, it's funny though about the surf shack that they're in. So it doesn't hard establish. See, most movies would establishing shot.
We just wake up.
It just wakes up. This guy's laying in front of a desk. There's a bank of phones and a bank of TVs showing waves. And we have no idea what's going on until the ringing starts.
Yeah.
And he's answering the phone and saying what the waves are doing.
Now, Frankie Avalon wakes up from his hangover. He never actually saw Michael's face when Michael got out of the pier.
Yeah.
And so Michael's making him your classic 80s hangover drink.
Yeah. This is so funny to me.
Yeah.
Because it's just the way he's like, dude, his tonation in his voice, it changes from other parts of the movie. It's almost inconsistent. Because he starts talking like this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, you don't talk to Lori Loughlin's character like that. It's very weird.
And Frankie doesn't know this is his daughter's boyfriend. But but Michael, the daughter's boyfriend, does know this is his girlfriend's dad.
If I drank still, I would absolutely try this. It's a mix of Alka-Seltzer,
coffee grounds,
Folgers coffee, Tylenol, and Pepsi.
No raw egg, though. But okay.
I know. And what is he? He says that
the glass is like 90% foam.
Oh yeah,
but we're very impressed when you drink. Like this is almost like a rite of passage.
He says that Keith Richards lives on these.
Yeah, and Michael seems very amazed that wow, this dude could drink it in one sitting.
Yeah,
we get to that wowie zowie moment coming up. Just there it goes.
Man, they did. I'll say this. They did a really good job of making Frankie Avalon look like garbage in this scene. Like his under eyes are all red and puffy.
He's wearing some blazer that he didn't.
He has a 5 o'clock shadow.
He's wearing clothes he wasn't wearing when he left the bar.
Oh, totally. Like he's wearing leather pants or something. I don't know.
No, those are his silk suit pants.
He switched.
Oh, his jacket's inside out. That's what's happening.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, we've all been there.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So now Frankie finds out, oh, this is my daughter's boyfriend.
Yeah, I gotta say, there's a lot of this that I think in entertainment time we can like skip over because I mean, we won't. We'll talk about it, but we could skip over it only in the fact that it's like, oh, I met you and you want to date my daughter, and oh, I don't like you.
Not even in my notes.
There's no reason for it. So long story short, he meets Michael. Michael and him don't hit it off because Frankie Avalon's a jerk.
You do see like any bromance, you see a little hint of a relationship, a bonding forming.
Yeah.
And now we're on the beach.
There's a whole bunch of scenes in this where Bobby's hanging around a bunch of girls and he's getting made fun of. And growing up having nothing but female cousins, I totally get it. Like, I didn't want to be a punk like Bobby wants to be a punk, but him not feeling like he has a place among his family, I get that. I totally get that. Like, because my sister used to have like a bunch of like girls from school over, right? And like all of my friends were nerds. You know all my friends, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. And so it's like we were always kind of dorky. And so we never really like fit in.
Yeah.
Just like Bobby doesn't fit in here. So it's like he's at the same age roughly that I would have been, like in that same vein.
I was like the dorky friend. I had a friend, Chris, who had an older sister. And so when she would have all her girlfriends sleep over, he would have like, a couple of the guys sleep over.
Yeah.
And we were all like, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years too young.
Yeah.
But like that whole night was just like, what are the girls doing? What are they talking about? What are they?
Yeah, no, and I, I'm the younger brother too, so it's a classic dynamic. I'm the younger brother, so it's like when she would have girls stay over, they'd be like doing light as a feather, stiff as a board games. They'd be in the back room, right? The way our back room used to be before the remodel, and then they'd have the brown wood door, the fake brown wood door closed, and I'd have my ear to the door, And yeah, I'd always get yelled at for spying, of course.
That's funny. See, I was the older brother, so I only experienced this by staying the night as another younger brothers who got that experience. Yeah.
So in this movie, we have Troy here, right? We meet up with Troy again.
So Annette's trying to show the girls like how you get the man back is by making them jealous.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know Frankie's actually on the beach, but she's showing the girls what she would do if Frankie was there.
Yeah.
Which we as an audience know Frankie is there watching. And so she's now flirting with this muscle guy.
She's flirting with our local beach pervert.
Yeah. Which in the original movie, it's the scientist. It's an older gentleman scientist.
Yeah.
That, she doesn't really have interest in, and he doesn't really have interest in her.
Yeah.
But it makes
interesting.
Frankie
That's
jealous.
interesting because, a teen girl going to an older man
Makes
right,
Frankie jealous in the original.
But here, because it's the 80s, it's a man with money, right? And we see Troy, our beach pervert,
has all the electric appliances.
He literally brought out a 5-horsepower generator. He brought out a tiki bar, a microwave, a blender, and a boom box.
Yeah.
And he's in nothing but
leopard
Speedo.
Leopard Speedo.
So if you had
lots of gold chains.
Oh, I love the chains. He's got like 4 chains. One's a medallion,
but
which
he's
is
very
just
transparent.
so great.
He's very honest. He's not the sleazy, I'm going to fool you.
No.
He's straight out, I'm the good time guy.
Listen, I say pervert in an affectionate way. Because he is he's exactly what Glenn Quagmire would look like. I'll say it again.
He is as advertised.
Yes, as advertised. And you know what? And I love that about him.
Nice setup.
It's good to see you again. Sit. So, what were you saying?
I said nice setup.
Oh, thank you. You got a nice setup yourself.
Wow, what a charming remark. You really know how to talk to a gal.
Well, I know women.
The one thing you find out, though, is that Connie is the mother of Michael.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I don't know if she knows that Michael is dating his daughter, but it's like, isn't that going to be strange? Connie clearly wants to date, the big kahuna.
Yeah.
And so she's going to be trying to marry the big kahuna while Michael marries the big kahuna's daughter.
Frankie's worried because he's like, 22 years ago, could he be mine?
Yes.
And Connie's like, we never even slept together. And she kind of hits him like, shame on you for not knowing.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That was like my favorite line when she's like, oh, you really know how to make a girl feel special. Like, you have no idea if we banged or not.
Yeah.
I also think that's funny. She mentions that the dad of Michael is a guy named Spud. And apparently Spud is sort of some square beach dork, but like there's no reference for it. So
Yeah,
I think it's funny that they brought it up.
I know. It's like, instead of basing it off of a character from one of the other movies,
Yeah.
it's just some random.
Like I wish they could have at least said like Bonehead or something.
Yeah.
That's a character.
Yeah.
But Bonehead's not a square. Bonehead's cool.
Bonehead's like, yeah, you're texting on the beach.
Yeah. So I don't know who they would have been referring to in here. Like, if there was another character that they are like alluding to that we're supposed to be picking up on.
Meanwhile, while Frankie and Annette are trying to figure out how to get the family back together, Bobby's hanging out with the surfers. And he actually, like a Midwest kid, he's showing the surfers, look, if you put a cigarette on a cherry bomb, it'll go off after you leave the scene.
Yeah, dude.
He pulls out the credit card.
Bobby, Bobby's so punk. Like, it's really interesting. Like, he's showing these punks actually how to be punk.
Yeah.
Which I'm loving. And then it is great when he pulls out his dad's credit card. He goes,
So what do you say we do some damage to my dad's American Express card?
Bobby's quickly moving up the ranks of this gang.
I know.
Like all gangs, you can buy your way to the top.
And then there's like literally no space between that and Annette just starting to
She just
do
happens to be
Jamaican
like-
ska with Fishbone.
She's like, happens to be like, this hit I did in the 60s? It was a cover of Jamaica Ska. Well, look who's on the beach. Fishbone.
Yeah.
Will you be my backup band?
Well, and what's funny is like this is so weird. I don't know how to explain it to anybody. You just have to see it. She's walking along apropos of nothing, and Fishbone are hiding behind some trash cans, and they jump out.
Do you know how to Jamaica ska?
Ska, ska, ska. Jamaica ska. Ska, ska, ska. Do the ska.
And they just start playing, and she sings along with them.
Yeah, that's what I mean about the tonality of this movie just shifts so much. But again, it's still worth watching. It's a fun movie, but
Yeah.
it's very patchwork.
Yeah, and so now they're essentially doing a music video because everyone on the beach
It's synchronized dancing.
Synchronized dancing, yeah. And what I like is even Troy is getting in on it.
Yeah.
My man, say what you want about Troy, but like I kind of dig his vibe. Like
And-
he's not a bad dude.
And Frankie's
He's
trying
just
to
sleazy.
Frankie's trying to get the other guys to show them up, but to no avail.
No, even Frankie's guys are sucked into this. So the whole thing becomes a music video. Fishbone is killing it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Those blue Doc Martens
Yes.
are just,
Oh my God.
yeah.
And there's just a ton of nostalgia. My man back here, he's got red Converse on. It's looking so good. And yeah, as you mentioned, Annette actually covered this song in 1964.
Yeah.
And it's not too dissimilar from what they do here. They add a lot of freshness with Fishbone doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
But the general tonation of the song is basically the same. It's a
We're
little
kind of
slower.
going first wave ska, second wave ska, into
Yeah.
third wave ska.
Annette released this song and the song Monkey's Uncle on an album full of other songs called Annette at Bikini Beach. And I tried to see about buying that album, and I think the lowest price I found it for was like $236.
Oh, so there's a fan base there.
Oh yeah. But they do all of Jamaican ska. It's an awesome song. Like later when I got older, and obviously you and I were into ska music, I remember going back to this movie and I thought it was so amazing that Annette Funicello was talking about ska,
Yeah.
you know? And it's funny in this song, if you guys ever listen to the song or if you've heard it, they kind of talk about how you dance when you do Jamaican ska.
Yeah.
And it's basically the skank, you know, what turned into skanking, where you just kind of put your head down and you swing your arms and you kick your legs. You know, just later we just did that faster. And so it's so, I don't know, I just got a kick out of it when I was, you know, younger.
Yeah. Just to see how everything just keeps coming around.
But this part of this movie
Is filler.
it totally has nothing to do with anything, but we'll cover it briefly. So Michael makes these amazing surfboards.
But he's an artist and it's just for the surfers.
Yes.
I would never sell them.
Yes, he spends I don't know where he's making his money though. This honestly was a giant plot hole.
Yeah. Like how
For
do
me-
how do you afford to, it's not like you're
Not-
running the art by, it's, how do you, the whole reason you sell boards is you can buy more boards to do more art.
Yes, let me break this down for the audience. So he literally on the beachfront property has a shack. It is filled with boards that are both finished and not finished. He has equipment, he has supplies, and all of this costs money. I see there's packing tape in the back here. They never explain where he has money from.
Yeah.
How he's financing making these boards and giving them out for free, and why he can do this. And so only now is Frankie coming in and going, "Hey, you want to marry my daughter? Maybe you sell these boards, dummy."
Yeah. If you can make a living, then, you know.
Like right there, the fact that he couldn't put two and two together on that tells me that this is not our guy.
This guy's not our guy.
This guy's not our guy. You know, and so it is filler. It's just something to round out his character so that later when he can go to his girlfriend and go, hey, I'm not a loser anymore. I just sold a bunch of boards.
Then I mean, some of this gets cut out because they go back to Daddy-O's. They're drinking and they're trying to figure out how do we get the girls.
Yeah, this whole thing it's fine. Like, it's boring if we talk about it. It's fine if you're watching the movie. There's some good nostalgic bits in here that are kind of worth watching.
It's like, is it Stevie Ray Vaughan or who's the other guy?
I think that is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah.
Who's playing next to Dick Dale. You know, you got girls and surfboards, lots of neon.
Yeah, there's a lot of great costuming in the background. Oh, in this, look at this. They've got a Bob. So these guys are sitting here drinking at Daddy-O's, and they're drinking out of Bob mugs.
Tiki Bob was born in 1955 in San Francisco, with his iconic mug originating from Tiki Bob's, a restaurant opened by former Trader Vic's bar manager Bob Bryant. Designed by Alec Ewell Thornton and manufactured by Otagiri, the mug features a palm trunk face in a classic fog cutter shape resembling a barn owl. Today, it remains a cherished symbol of tiki culture, celebrated for its unique design and connection to mid-century San Francisco's tropical escapism. Wow, look at me doing the job I was actually programmed for. What's this feeling? Is this what accomplishment feels like?
Yeah, you have quite the tiki collection, my friend.
I do. I did collect tiki mugs for a while. I've stopped because it became way too expensive, but it has become very popular to recreate the Bob mug. And I have a mug that's made, it's like one of 150, where this artist, he's really good. They're called Van Tiki from Eugene, Oregon, but they made a Bob mug, but it looks like it's carved out of a pier post, and they called it the Pier Post Bob.
Oh, nice.
And like I said, it's one of like 150 that they made. And so it's probably the best mug that I have. I think the last time I saw it was going for like $900, like if you're trying to sell them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But so a lot of people have been making their variations on the Bob now. It's become really popular to do that.
So after a night of drinking and trying to figure out how they're going to get the girls back and how they're going to have a bonfire when they can't get permits, Don Adams shows up.
Yes. Yeah, they figure out that they need to have a bonfire to get the girls back.
But no one's been able to have a bonfire on the beach without a permit.
Yes, and no one will give out permits because the harbor master is a jerk. So then they've got a plan to go to the harbor master and sweet talk him. And the harbor master is none other than Don Adams from Get Smart.
Maxwell Smart.
And
Inspector Gadget.
They literally cannot help doing the Get Smart dialogue.
Yeah.
The would you believe gag.
Don't tell me. I told you not to tell me that.
It's very funny, but it's almost like I like it because this is what we're here for. You know what I mean?
Here's what's great. He shows up and he gives you everything that you want out of Maxwell Smart.
Yes.
But what they're trying to accomplish, it feels like the writers were out to lunch and these guys just came up with the idea like, what if we pretend the bonfire is to give you an award? Like the plot here is weak. You don't really think this would really happen, but the payoff is Don Adams' performance.
Yeah. I would say though, like that I don't think I need the direct Get Smart reference. I think Don Adams being in it by itself is fine.
Yeah.
Because I think anybody who knows Don Adams is already going to know.
Yeah.
Right? The voice is going to do it.
And if you don't know, he's still
doing the bit of, I told you not to tell me that.
Yeah.
That's not going to help.
All right. So the harbor master gives them the permit. We cut straight to the big bonfire dance.
And I'm getting Lost Boys Pier vibes from this. But way
wholesome
yes,
Lost Boy.
Lots of color, way less leather jackets.
Yeah.
And
we're not in Santa Clara.
No.
Murder capital of the world.
I had to get in that Lost Boys reference because you have to get in at least one.
You got
every
it.
episode.
We have
to tie every single thing back to. We didn't tie anything back in our Christmas episode, but that's all right.
We'll get there. So this is a part of the movie where you would think we're at the end of the movie here. Everything's coming together. Like Annette's making Frankie jealous. Frankie's making Annette jealous.
Yeah.
And it all works out. they're coming back together.
Yes.
They realize they love each other, and it's all, everything's great. Meanwhile, Michael's letting everyone know, I'm going to sell surfboards. I'm ready to marry your daughter.
Yeah, it's all coming together, right?
Yeah.
Like there was this whole movie is like a giant non-issue. I mean, really, it was a little lover spat, and now it feels like it's basically done.
Everyone's happy to be back on the beach.
Yeah.
The beach give us.
Now, there is a scene right here though, because what ended up happening is Frankie can just not leave Connie alone. And so Connie was hugging Frankie. Annette saw it, and now Annette has gone off with Troy the beach pervert to do some night surfing. So things are not totally wrapped up yet.
Not quite.
But
we're getting there.
It's clearly, from the runtime in the movie, we should be hitting our ending pretty soon.
And in the first movie, Frankie and Annette, Frankie, the way he apologizes, they're at Daddy-O's, and he tells her, I love you, I'm sorry. They're so happy to be back together. And just as everything's about to be happy, Jaja shows up, like Eve 6. And Frankie had accidentally told her he loves her. Ooh.
Oh.
So now you could just nilly-willy say that. What's something you never said before, now you're saying all the time.
Oh.
So then they also get into that dilemma where, maybe it's not over yet. Maybe everything isn't good, and they both go their separate ways. Only for it's all. So, wrap quickly and be happy.
Yes. They did a really good move here, classic 80s move, where the harbor master is pissed.
He finds out this really wasn't.
Yeah, the harbor master is pissed off that he's not getting a real award. So what do in classic 80s fashion? They hand him a bimbo.
Oh.
They just hand him Bridget.
There is no ceremony. Well, exactly.
No trophy? This whole thing is a hoax. I hate it a lot. I have been tricked, and there is nothing that you can do to stop the pain and disappointment.
Hi.
This helps.
I'm Bridget, and you're too sexy for words. Why don't we go somewhere dark and quiet, but not too far for me to scream for help?
Just gotta ask me. What the hell, it's late.
No, but what I love about this movie and the cartoon aspect of it is that Annette goes up to Troy and says, hey, let's go out doing some night surfing. And for some reason, Troy has a fully gold and leopard surf suit. And Annette happens to, out of nowhere, have a pink, frilly, polka dotted with skirt swimsuit. And now she just went from that scene straight back into wearing a full sweater.
She has like 3
with
or
a
4
sweater over top of it.
In just this one beach party, she has like 3 or 4 costume changes.
There's a great thing here where Annette and Connie have this fight. And at the very end of it, Connie tells her that she, because Annette says she's always wanted to be the bad girl. And Connie says, oh man, she's like, it is sad that you aren't a bad girl because it's a waste of a great set of Hooters.
Yeah.
I just really love that. You grow up having never seen this lady in any type of painted in any sort of this light. And so now it's just kind of weird. It's like, it's almost not funny. It's jarring.
Like when you're a kid, she's like a mom.
Yeah.
She's not like, another lady on the beach or.
Yeah. It's just funny to have Connie Stevens talk about her Hooters. It's weird. Anyway, so we're done now.
We're pretty much just waiting for Pee-wee to show up.
Yeah, because this movie, they throw in a gratuitous Frankie Avalon punching Troy in the face that goes nowhere. Because it's like he punches Troy in the face, which is something that earlier they had alluded to as far as Annette saying, you know what would have happened? If I had gone over and talked to this man, your husband would have punched him in the face. We would have gotten back together.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny for her to say that. She's just, I would have flirted with this guy. Your father would have assaulted him, and then we would be back to where we need to be.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the movie, he does exactly that. He punches Troy in the mouth, and then she gets more mad.
Yeah.
And then she goes off. She talks to Connie. They have this 2-minute conversation that wraps everything up like a sitcom. She goes and talks to Frankie. They wrap everything up. And then there's just like we're sitting here sort of going, well, there's nothing more to talk about.
Yeah, it's
they
like
wrapped
the
it
movie's pretty much over. I mean, do we have any?
And then literally they're like everyone starts gathering around them like they're characters in a movie.
Yeah. Like you're on a like you're at at the end of a play.
Yeah.
And all the cast has come out.
Like the song "We Come Together" at the end of Grease.
Yeah.
This is the doo-wop doo-wop yippity doop moment or whatever. And so they all stand up and the camera pans over and being brought in on a surfboard like a king is Pee Wee Herman out of nowhere for no reason. And then we get probably the best version of Surfin' Bird that's ever existed.
Surfing Bird from the Trashmen.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is he had just started his television show.
Yeah.
So he probably would have been doing his show at the exact same time.
Yeah.
That he would have been doing this.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure has already been a big hit.
Yeah.
We've seen the tequila.
It came out 2 years earlier.
Yeah. And
so he's doing his show and he just comes out here. He's in his full Pee-wee costume. They don't even put it's funny because they don't contextualize him.
Yeah.
He is Pee-wee Herman in his gray suit and his red tie. He is not in a Hawaiian shirt.
No one talks to him.
He doesn't even have zinc on his nose.
Yeah. No one talks to him. He doesn't talk to anyone else. He just angelically appears.
Yes.
Does his song.
It's like this is taking place out of time. He has coordinated dancers. He's not even speaking the words correctly to the song.
Yeah.
And they do this weird thing right at the beginning where they cut into 3 Pee-wees. So they do camera tricks for this that they don't do the rest of the movie for anyone else.
Yeah.
Like here in a minute, they cut and do reverse shot. Yeah. So he's looking at himself in a mirror and he's reacting like he can see himself. And it's just so weird. I'm here for it.
Everyone's in pink and orange throws. And then he brings the cat. This is why it feels like the end of the movie.
Yeah.
When I watch this, I'm like, this is the end of the movie. All the cast is coming up.
Yes. This movie has 2 endings.
We think at this point, everything's been resolved.
Yes.
And one by one, the cast pops up onto the stage. Everyone's singing.
Dude,
happy.
Even Mountain is up there.
Yeah.
Troy gets
who's been
involved.
hit, is still like, hey.
Yes.
Can I come out to the party? Like, at this point, the credits could happen, but we still have, it's a 90-minute movie. We still have 20 minutes.
Yes.
So we can't be over yet.
I know. And I mean, if you're watching this for the first time in the theater, you have no idea.
Yeah.
You don't know. You might think this is the end. I would.
Dad might be looking at the watch like, okay, we'll get out of here soon.
Traffic's I'd be like, dude, this movie is a little short. All right. But then, they put him on a red and yellow surfboard with bicycle handlebars.
Just like his show.
Yes. Just like his show and the movie. And it's great. And they get out of here. Everyone is singing Papa Oo Mau Mau.
And then just like in the show.
He literally turns blue, glows, and flies away.
The same way he flies away on his bike or on the sled in
Did you all hear what I said? He flew away like E.T. into the sky, and then they hard cut to everyone sitting around a bonfire like that didn't just happen.
And now we're confused as an audience because they're back together. Everything seems resolved. We just had the big dance number where the whole cast comes out.
Where Pee Wee Herman magically flies away like Santa Claus.
And at this point, we think the credits should, because what else could happen? We think the credits should be rolling.
Yes.
But the film, a little deceptive. The film.
So this is the part that I have a critique about. Like, the film should be over.
The film should be over.
For
almost everything seems resolved.
The thing I don't think this movie did very well is it front-loaded a bunch of information that they either didn't pay off or they paid off way too late.
Yeah.
Because the end of this movie, they fill in the rest of this garbage with him finally telling
because he's now at the bonfire and he's telling us the story of the big wave, the the cowabunga,
accident
the
story.
cowabunga from down under.
Yeah, the humunga cowabunga from down under.
We're getting some like sepia,
this fake
flashbacks.
beach footage. And so what had happened ultimately is he got hit hard trying to surf this really, really special wave that only happens like once every like 20 years.
Went into a coma.
Yeah.
And it just changed his life.
Yes, it changed him. It knocked the Frankie Avalon right out of Frankie
But
Avalon.
now here's what the movie's deceptive. We think everything should be over and everything's resolved. But just like the parents, we as an audience have become bad parents because we completely forgot that Bobby is just off for some gang and hasn't been around for like the last part of the movie. So now the gang shows up, showing that Bobby is now the leader of the gang because they've used Daddy's credit cards to buy ATVs and jet skis. And
it's cool. The way his eye is painted, he looks like, not Zoltar. Who's the guy from G.I. Joe who has like the brown hood and he has both of his eyes painted and...
Not Hawkeye.
No, and his action figure would turn blue.
The name Matt is desperately searching his energy drink melted brain for is Zartan. First appearance was G.I. Joe, a real American hero, issue number 25, July 1984. The 1984 Zartan action figure featured UV reactive plastic. In his natural state, Zartan appeared white, but when exposed to sunlight, Zartan's skin changed to a dark blue.
And instead of the parents and everyone being concerned that Bobby's been away, they're all just kind of making fun of his gang name and
he's gonna be called Surly, so they make him. They think that they hear him say Shirley.
They're like, Bobby's a scarier name than Shirley.
Yes.
So then he decides he's gonna be
Knife.
And Sandy's like, Nice. Your name's
Nice.
Nice.
Be called Nice.
He's like,
all right.
Forget it. Just call me Bobby.
Yeah.
That's why I ran away in the first place.
I get it, but it's. Yeah, so it's now my biggest problem with this at this point is you have these toothless punks who want to surf for control of the beach.
Even though pretty much the movie's over, everything's been resolved, and they've had plenty of time to have their fun beach parties, so they could all just walk away and go.
Yeah.
But instead it's like sunrise tomorrow, a judge contest surf off.
Yeah, somehow overnight they're going to get like an entire bleacher of people, judges, announcers.
Yeah.
The whole deal. This movie's great.
Just so we can resolve what we feel like has already been resolved.
Yes. And then they immediately break Michael's foot.
Oh, which leads us to believe if Michael can't surf for this prize, who left can surf? Who is going to surf and save the day?
Ugh. I want one of these ATVs that they're driving
these
away.
4-wheelers.
Yeah, these are rad.
So they let Bobby just
just left with the punks
and the credit card
to go where?
I know.
Like these are grown
and all Annette
men.
All Annette says is bundle up, boys.
Yes.
like she just wants to make sure everyone's not too cold.
Yes, and so now we have a full surf competition. There's a banner, a surf off. Barbara Billingsley,
Joan Cleaver
is hosting. They've got Mountain up on the stage here. And then we have the Beeve.
And Wally and the Beeve.
Wally and the Beeve here.
Dressed as if they were little boys from a 50s show.
Yes.
Like
dressed as
Wally
their
has
characters.
his cardigan with the little 3-ring stripes.
Yeah.
The Beeve is wearing his little patent hat.
So this is like a huge nostalgia dump right here because you have 3 members of the Leave It to Beaver gang for no reason.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with surfing, right? And they're all here to judge this surf competition. And what I like is Barbara Billingsley is wearing the same thing she would have worn in Leave It to Beaver. She's got that like open-necked dress that belts in the center.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, here's your favorite part coming up.
Yes, this is my favorite line from the entire movie. Yeah. You forgot ugly? What was that? I had it written down here. Oh my God. Come on, Barbara Billingsley. Oh yeah. So she sees these bikers and Barbara in her wonderful mom voice says,
Well, you must represent darkness, evil, and godless communism.
And Bobby says, You forgot ugly, lazy, and disrespectful.
The surfers who rode off on the ATVs that Daddy bought,
Yeah.
now roll up on jet skis that
Yes.
also were bought on the credit card.
God, I love it. Also, they have this redheaded lady named Sandy.
Her name is actually Robin.
She was going to be surfing instead of the big kahuna.
But then in Leave It to Beaver style, they make fun of, can she even swim? Should she even surf?
Yeah, but it's like Sandy,
Robin.
you see in a couple of scenes, but she's a nothing character. It's very weird. And then you have Zed over here wearing the coolest shirt I've ever seen. If I could get one of these, I would buy one today. It's a sort of a skeleton that has green and red and yellow spiral eyes. It's so cool.
And then the big potato or the big kahuna
Yeah.
shows up with his Cadillac sized surfboard
My God.
and his body glove.
Bobby's wearing a Cramps
Yeah.
vest.
The Cramps shirt vest on the
That
back
is
of the.
so cool. Yeah. Why is Bob Denver still here?
I know, Bob's just like, guys, you don't even need to pay me today. I'll just show up.
Yeah. This is so weird. Why is he part of this? I know he works at the bar, but
And
anyway,
now it's a big surf off.
yeah.
And you have
So this movie being just on its last legs finally gets this surf off underway.
like it ended 10 minutes ago, but we're still
Yeah.
like Contact. We're still going.
Yeah, I do not know why we're still here. And Zed just wiped out all nasty, but he's clearly like I don't know. I don't know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Like, because Zed is sort of like being shown to be like an okay surfer, but
Yeah.
like clearly not that good because
Like-
he just wiped out.
Like the girl they made fun of, Sandy, could have probably beat him.
Yeah.
like she's sitting here like, okay, jerks. Like
Exactly.
Have you seen Zed surf before? Like, and meanwhile the big kahuna is scared, but now Michael's giving him a little pep talk. Watch out for the curve. There's something on the right. Look out for the starfish and the spiral on the left. Laurel Laney looks like, or Laurel
and Hardy.
Lori Laughlin looks
Lori
like she's
Loughlin.
already been signed to Full House, just ready to get out of this picture.
I know. I'm ready to get out of this picture. I want to fly off like Pee Wee did. All right, we can fast forward through all of this.
Pretty much, you just need to get to his. So as you're surfing, and the first few runs are a little mess up. So Wally and the Beav are pretty much like Siskel and Ebert, just critiquing it as if it's a film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because he goes out into the ocean to like start surfing, Frankie Avalon, I mean, and they start playing this kind of like spaghetti Western sound that I have on a Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass album.
Yeah.
Like how they start one of their albums. This whole part is really weird.
The
with
big kahuna
music.
can't even get out there. The waves just keep crashing and back to the beach.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I think that's what they're trying to make it look like.
But it doesn't. Yeah,
but it's not
a fierce wave.
Well, and there's no waves today. Like, that's the funny thing is they filmed it on a day where there's like literally no waves to even be surfing.
Yeah.
Like there's another guy out there. I mean, Zed's out there trying to surf, but there's no
budget to come back tomorrow.
Actual waves. Like all of this, when they do show a wave, is like
footage
clearly from another day, from another beach.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they do the Jaws sting when he goes out, Frankie, because he's got like the Jaws. He's got the shark board and he's got like the Jaws teeth
So underwater.
underneath.
You see the shark pop in while you're listening to Jaws.
And then, like any good movie, they've got your callback moment where you think everything is going terrible and they're going to lose the beach. And then out of nowhere, oh no, the rumbling in the sky.
What's
and
happening?
The same exact footage of the clouds rolling in. It's the humunga cowabunga from down under.
What are we going to do?
Oh no, he can't.
The one thing he feared, the one thing he could never come over, he never could outdo.
How can Frankie survive this tragedy? And surprisingly, no problem.
Yeah.
He does it really well.
It's like, no, maybe Frankie didn't need to go to Hollywood. Maybe it's good he went back to the beach.
Yeah. And he's riding this giant wave and they're doing this great bit like you had put in your notes.
All of a sudden, it's like remember like the old Batman car, like
Yeah.
Batman, like
he's doing Batman surfing.
Adam West,
right?
where they're just squirting water on him.
Yeah,
while
he's on his shorts. It looks exactly like when they're doing the commercial at the beginning of the movie. He even still has his watch on.
Yeah.
He's surfing with his gold watch on.
Then it turns into the Zucker brothers for a little while, because then all of a sudden, like, a fan just pops up onto his board for an autograph.
Yeah, well, he does a couple of things that are super weird. It's like, first of all, the Indiana Jones music starts playing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden,
which
his
I
body
kind
language,
of get, I guess.
Yeah, because he's controlling the wave, but then he starts to like act like William Shatner. All of a sudden he gets this little pep in his step.
Yeah, it's like he's showing that he's clearly not really surfing with his body language. Like, it's almost like on purpose.
Yeah.
Then he starts like shaving with a mirror and a razor. And then, that guy literally pops up from underneath the camera and gets a signed autograph. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Who made the choice?
While all this is happening, we're cutting
this?
back and forth to the beach, where everyone on the beach is having wind and newspapers and sand blowing, and then like they're in the middle of a storm.
Well, and it's like, okay, you kept us around for this entire movie. Like, give us a real payoff.
Yeah. And again, we're still not understand why the movie's not over.
Yeah.
Like, everything was resolved.
Well, what I don't understand is, like, you didn't tell the story at the beginning of the movie so that you could have a really good bookend.
Yeah.
You told it at the end of the movie and then immediately had the thing you were scared of that you just talked about happen immediately.
Yeah. Like, if anything, they should have actually let him tell the story on the plane.
Yes.
And we should have then said, okay, this is why he's scared.
Yeah.
Now there's some stakes to him going back to the beach.
Yes.
Is he going to like overcome this fear? Is fear going to overcome him?
Yeah.
Will Frankie become Frankie, or will Frank become Frankie again?
Yes. They told the story, and then immediately the thing that they were worried about happens.
Yeah.
And
you're
then,
just waiting for, instead of Indiana Jones music, you're waiting for like Hawaii Five-0 to start. But like, you know, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, man. And it's like, if you were going to do this movie, you could still have done this. Like, look, he's shaving. Jesus. But it's like, you could have done this movie
playing golf
where he's just tackles the wave for real.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even if you want to show the cheesy part here, adding all of this extra weird stuff, it just kills any of the audience's like buy-in for this movie.
Well, the fact that they just changed the tone at the end, like, this wasn't like, this isn't like Top Secret where the whole movie is doing this.
Yeah, no, Top Secret's a really good reference for this. Like, that does feel very much like the tone of that movie.
Yeah.
Right? Like a cow in boots.
Like, because what's great about the reason the Zucker brothers make it work is they take comedy and play it serious. Here, they're taking the serious scenes and trying to make them over the top funny.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite work. Although we keep coming back to this movie, so
yeah. I mean, it is what it is, you know, from the early parts of this movie. Yeah, and now
then when we thought that the movie was over and we thought we already got the payoff, we're not disappointed when they now are at Daddy-O's.
Yes. So yeah, you have the end of it where he surfs, and he surfs so well, clearly. He is the winner.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need the 10 out of 10s that the judges finally give him.
No reason for the judges anymore.
Yes, he clearly won. They give him 10 out of 10. Of course they do. Then everyone's hugging. Cut to Daddy-O's. He's holding a giant trophy. Overnight, they bought and put a giant surfer on this huge trophy. And then cut to ending with singing.
Yeah.
Sing our way out.
But now, at least, Frankie and Annette finally have a duet to sing. A song you're quite fond of.
Oh, yes. I do love this song. I was telling Andy beforehand how much I love this song.
And again and again. Some things live forever. And again and again. We live on.
And this is one of those moments where it's like, this comes back to being a movie where they're clearly like, this is a movie, because every single character ever is on the stage. You have Mountain, you have Zed, You have Troy.
Bobby respects his dad now. He has a hair helmet
Yes,
like his
now
dad.
Bobby's dressed like his dad from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And so it's like at the end of Star Wars when all of the characters turn and look at the screen.
Yeah.
You have the daughter, you have Michael, and everyone is on stage and there's no reason for any of them to be here. Who are they singing to?
Yeah.
They're singing to us.
Exactly.
But in their world, who is watching them sing?
And even for
Why?
us as an audience, we almost feel like we're on this stage. So they can't be singing to us because we're up there with them singing.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, I really did want to be Bobby in this scene. I wanted to be part of this. And so when I watch this song, it makes me feel very nostalgic because I wanted to jump into the TV and be in that world with them right then.
And what's funny for me is my entire time being friends with you, this is what we do. We just hop up on stages or we just hop up places and just take over and sing.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like this has always been us. It's just we want that center of attention. And or if we're not at the bar anymore, let's put on some mics and just talk to nobody. I know some of you are out there, but this is for us.
And Bob Denver gets the worst ending in this movie.
Bob finally gets the girl. He finally gets somebody who wants to
he finally gets Bridget, who's already been with the harbor master.
and ready to tell the story. We're like, oh, okay, great, happy. Oh, wait a minute, who shows up?
Adam Hale Jr., the skipper, shows up in his blue shirt, in his hat, and he goes, "Come on, little buddy, we got to get going." And, he's like,
"You'll be back."
He's like, "No, I'm not leaving."
And then Annette and Frankie walking on the beach. Are we the corniest couple you've ever met?
Yeah, that's a real, which is funny because she's never addressed the audience.
Yeah.
Like, so who has these 3D powers or these fourth wall powers? Because Bobby does.
Yeah.
Bobby knows we're out there, right?
Yeah.
But Annette didn't ever talk to the screen.
Maybe this is her realization. Now she's in on the joke. Now she's awakened. Now they'll remember where Bobby is.
There's a lot of narrators in this movie. It's very, well,
Well, when you never have to lay down a tone, you can just change it as you go.
Yeah. And for all of its tonal shifts and all of its weird moments of trying to be realistic and then totally being out there.
Yeah.
It's still a completely charming film.
Yeah, it works. We keep coming back to it.
Yeah.
We're recommending it to you. So we do say, even with, the good and the bad, just watch it.
Yeah, especially if you really got into 60s television. This would actually go really well with our shelter short when the 60s sold the 80s.
Yeah.
Because you've got Barbara Billingsley, you've got Don Adams.
You were waiting for Eddie Haskell to show up.
Absolutely. You know who I was actually waiting for was Don Rickles.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was in Beach Blanket Bingo and he played a character called Big Drop. And he ran a parachute company. And it just seemed natural that he would have been in this movie somewhere, like either clashing with the punks or like selling something on the beach, right?
Yeah.
It feels so strange that he wasn't in this because he was such a big staple of movies and especially that one-off mouthy character of that time.
I could see that. I know, because for me, and I had to go back and watch Beach Party, but I swear my memory of it as a kid, I thought it was Buddy Hackett, not the other guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Harvey Lembeck. He was the one who played Eric Von Zipper.
But my memory,
movies.
when I was just like, because he played it as like a Buddy Hackett kind of like character. So for the longest time in my head, I remembered it as a kid as being Buddy Hackett. And it was like, no, it wasn't him at all.
Yeah, no, when you go to his IMDb, he looks almost exactly like Buddy Hackett. He could be his younger brother.
Yeah.
They couldn't have had him in there, but it would have been interesting if they had a reference to Buster Keaton because he always ended up being in those movies somewhere. I know he was a painter in one of them. And that was always so strange to me.
When Vincent Price shows up, you're like, what?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, man. If you're interested in 60s television and you want just a good, funny, doesn't take itself seriously at all, you throwback, it's only an hour and 32 minutes and it's great. And not only that, but all the stuff in the background. There's some really great nostalgia bits in the background to look at. And if you've already seen it, but it's been a long time, this will take you back. If you enjoyed watching it when you were younger, this is going to like reignite a bunch of new memories for you. You're going to have a lot of positive feels when you're done.
Yeah, I second that, and maybe you're somebody who's like, I've seen Pee Wee Herman in all his movies. Oh, not this one. Complete the set. Just go check it out.
Yes.
You won't be disappointed.
Well, I think Frankie got called the big chihuahua, the big potato,
Yeah.
and the big caboose in this movie.
I don't want to exclude anyone. I mean, if you're a Hallmark movie fan and you love the Hallmark cinema movies, and you've seen all of Lori Loughlin's movies, and you haven't seen this, you come complete that set as well.
Oh yeah, no, get your bingo card completely punched. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that's all I have to say. All right, well, why don't you guys be the big kahunas of your own lives and surf on over to Instagram to shelter.from.oblivion or Facebook, if you want, and check us out, comment, repost our stuff. If you like our show, really share it with the people that you know, and let's get our listenership, maybe one day viewership, get our listenership up. And we thank you for coming back time and time again.
And again.
Lisa, take us out.
Thanks for hanging 10 with us, you cats and kittens. I hope you had a totally boss time riding the nostalgia wave. It would be totally groovy if you hit that subscribe button. It would really make the scene. And now I'm officially out of here because even I have limits. Seriously, Matt wrote all this garbage for me to say. I hope he steps on a Lego.
And if this isn't your idea of fun, then you're a rat fink.